This is Buckeye legend Mike Tomczak, and you're listening to OVE Podcast. It's Ohio versus everyone. Subscribe, like, listen, and follow, and don't forget your comments. Here's the show, and remember to always wash your BALLS.
How's your bracket, Sam?
Dude, I haven't filled a bracket out since senior year in high school.
How's your bracket? It's the OVE Podcast, Ohio versus everyone. We are back. This is going to be a short show today. We understand the majority of you watching, listening right now are watching the NCAA tournament. This is probably something you're going to listen to or watch probably after today's basketball. Really short program today. One break segment, and then we're off the air and we'll be back tomorrow. And I appreciate everybody reaching out and wondering where the hell we're at. Listen, it's the off season. There are going to be times where we do one show a week, 2 shows a week. I know you want more, and I'd like to give you more, but we got to make money, folks. That's why the Super Chat's on. Not today, though, because we're going to be really quick. We're not doing Super Chats today, but we'll be back, and don't worry. Let's get the Super Chats going. By the way, hurt at work or in an accident, let attorney Robert Schuerger go to war for you at warforyou.com. See, if you're watching on YouTube, see that little thumbs up button? Hit that right now. Subscribe, like, follow, share. Let's get it going. Today's poll question, Sam. What do you enjoy more? March Madness, opening day of baseball, Buckeye spring game?
Do we really have to put Buckeye spring game on there?
Well, I bet you a lot of people would say Buckeye spring game. Because it's like the halfway point, right?
I heard there was a poll question the other day on 97.1 basically asking if you could play hooky for a day, and whether it's a Thursday or a Friday, would you rather stay home for the Masters or stay home and watch March Madness? And all three on the panel said March Madness, and I thought they were crazy, but I don't enjoy basketball.
Oh, they're in July conversation already at the Fan.
Apparently.
Wow. Bo Bishop
No, who's greater? No LeBron or Jordan conversations yet.
That had to be the Bo Bishop show. Common Man and T-Bone are not talking about Masters.
Yeah, they do July conversations all the time on Common Man and T-Bone.
Yes.
Don't talk a lick of sports on a sports radio station, but hey, whatever.
The show's extremely popular.
And you know what? They're doing something right. I just think it's a weird marriage with the format that they're providing on the radio station that they're doing it. That's all.
What did Mike and I? We probably did 75% sports or more.
You talked infinitely more sports than they currently do on their show.
Gotcha.
And the little that I listen, because I think I listen to Juice and I listen to Bo Bishop when I'm in the car because you guys play too many songs. But other than that, like from noon on, that radio station's hard to listen to.
My guy called Herbie a prick on Tuesday and I talked to him about it. We have talked about it.
I can't remember if it was like pretentious prick or self-indulgent prick, but he said it twice, stuck the landing both times, and this is all after he called him a douchebag live on air in December.
I have new Herbie stories.
Oh boy.
I have, when I text Mike today, I said, hey, because you were the one who told me that he called Herbie a prick. And I said, hey, by the way, heard you called our buddy a prick twice. And he goes, dude, if I could, I'd call him a prick every day. And I said, well, just so you know, I have new Herbie stories to prove what even a bigger douchebag this guy is. Let's get together soon. I will tell you, and I'll probably tell them before we get to that on the podcast, before I meet Mike for lunch. But I think that Herbie's such an elitist with my new story that he doesn't realize the people he screws over, that he's just screwed up, that there's such an entitlement to him where I think he feels he can do whatever he wants to any individual out there, and it's no big deal because he's Kirk Herbstreit. By the way, I found out. Here's the honest truth about Herbie, and we'll move on about like Buckeye players and Herbie. The only Buckeye player that likes Herbie, likes him, is Finkus. The other players just put up with him. Ryan D and the staff put up with him because he's on game day. If Herbie wasn't on game day, trust me, all those famous alumni that you know of that are living in the community, and this guy I was talking to was one of them. He doesn't like Herbie. No one likes Herbie. But you have to play the game with Herbie because Herbie has power. So but Herbie will come in with his boys, and do you know what they call the Herbie hangers-ons? And this wasn't from me. This wasn't even from the player. It was from another player he hangs out with. They call them the ball washers. Here comes Herbie and his ball washers. And that's the comment that the Buckeye alumni use when they're at the Woody or they see Herbie out in Columbus. They're the ball washers. And it's the guys, obviously, who suck on Herbie's nutsack or whatever. And he's got the guys with him. The dog.
I guess the question I want to ask is, I understand he played for Ohio State, wasn't very good, but hey, whatever. And I also understand the guy's a pretty good analyst on TV and the job
absolutely.
he actually does.
Yeah.
But when did he become the sole owner of the only person that can speak or give an update on Ohio State football and the program? I think that's one of the bigger issues I have, is like, I think that's why they keep the guy around, because it's because they think he has some kind of insight to the Ohio State football program, when in reality, I would imagine everyone in the program and at the Woody can't stand him.
Well, and that's the thing. The thing is, they put up with him and welcome in, like give him the high fives because they know the power he has. See, in Herbie's mind, he thinks they're friends. But really, it's just putting up with him because he's Herbie. That's why he made the comments. Now I understand now, after talking to this player, of why they put up and why Herbie was hurt that no one texted him when Chase accepted the mission. Because in Herbie's mind, he thinks that Ryan Day and staff and the alumni like him. In reality, they put up with him because of his job. How many other pile of trash quarterbacks, and I mean that as a human being and as a quarterback, are hanging out at the Woody? Now, Craig Krenzel, who is a national champion quarterback, doesn't hang out at the Woody. He doesn't go. Troy Smith's not hanging out at the Woody. But Herbie wants to go to be seen. I'm here, man. I'm part of the program. Herbie, you're not part of the program. They put up, you were the worst quarterback in school history, and they put up with you because you work on ESPN Game Day, and no one likes you. You want to know why no one texted you back when Chase took the scholarship at Michigan, the preferred walk-on? Because they don't like you. They don't. Ask Zach Smith and Menace. The coaches don't like you. They tolerate you. Well, the alumni, trust me, Herbie, players contact me. I don't contact them and talk what a pile of trash. They don't like you, dude. They Ficus likes you.
He wants the red carpet to be rolled out to him in Columbus, and everybody to praise him, just for taking some time out of his day to sit front and center with his frickin' dog at the outdoor Blue Jackets game. But then
I have a story about Herbie in the outdoor
trashes the fans and trashes everybody here in Columbus, and then tries to figure out why everybody hates him.
Because he hates he hates the fans. You are underneath him.
He wants it both ways. He wants he for some reason wants to trash the people, the good people of Columbus. All the while, he wants the red carpet rolled out for him every time he graces us with his presence.
Yeah, we'll get to my Herbie story, I promise. We're not going to do it today. We're not going to do a whole podcast on Herbie. Let's make sure we tie it in with Herbie. We just haven't done the show together in 2 weeks. March Madness games have ended. Games going on now. That's why it's going to be a quick show. To me, Sam, here's the thing of why the excitement for March Madness has, over the years, been vacant in my life. I still watch the tournament. I'll watch late games. My father-in-law's here. When I get done with the pod, we'll probably watch some games. He's a big college basketball guy. He's a season ticket holder at Virginia. But to me, it goes hand in hand with the success of Buckeye basketball. And we were joking on the Torgan Elliott Show mornings, QFM 96, funniest morning show in the city. It's not even close. We were joking around on the show. I told a joke, they're going to expand. They want to expand more. They, might extend it a week. Buckeyes still probably won't make it. I think the lack of success by this Buckeye team has made this city, sure, we like to drink. If you're a sales guy, you like to take clients out. Sam, I'm sure you're probably going to go out with clients later. Sure, it's a good time to hang out with guys, but this team and this program is so pathetic. It has taken away the joy of March Madness because they're not even in it. What's it, 3 straight years they're not in it? When was the last time they won a first-round game? The basketball program at Ohio State is non-existent, and that takes the love away from March Madness, in my opinion.
And I think the same thing about hockey or even Ohio State football. I mean, you go back to that 6 and 7 year, or even year last year, obviously not the most immediate season that we just experienced where they won the national championship, but 2 years ago, you don't even make the playoff and you're playing Missouri. I mean, you and I watched it. I would imagine a good portion of Columbus watched it, but nobody was really invested and hyped up for that game. I think what you're saying is true. I think if Ohio State or if the Blue Jackets are in the postseason, obviously this town is far more invested in the Stanley Cup playoffs or March Madness. I will say the one thing I am kind of intrigued about the tournament this year is it almost seemed like a foregone conclusion that Connecticut last year, UConn was going to basically cut down the nets at the end of the year, right? This year, it seems like there's a lot more parity. There's a lot of teams, it seems like, both in big conferences and in some of those mid-major conferences that actually have some chances to do some damage. So, and then you have some former villains or maybe some guys that shouldn't be involved in the sport at all anymore. Bruce Pearl, Rick Pitino, leading teams into this big dance with the opportunity to win the tournament. So obviously plenty of storylines. I have watched very little basketball at all this year. Like you said, I'm going out with a buddy tonight to do a little watch party at lower.com. And then we're heading over to the hockey game. Going to a couple watch parties tomorrow, but I am not invested in this tournament whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I think the St. John's thing is interesting from the standpoint Rick Pitino can flat out coach. He's a piece of crap human being, right? But I mean, doing what he did at Iona, getting fired from Louisville, winning that lawsuit, going to like Greece I think it was Greece for a couple years, then coming back, getting Iona in the championship, and now what he's doing at St. John's. I mean, listen, you got to give the guy kudos because the guy can flat out coach, right? So kudos to him because not a lot of people can accomplish what he has done. And so I think that's a big storyline. Sometimes they're cold with their shooting, right? But I think that's a storyline. I think North Carolina is a storyline, seeing that they shouldn't have been in, and their athletic director got a huge bonus. Now he's the head of the campaign committee or the selection committee, and he claims, oh, I had nothing to do with my team getting in, but come on, you're running the committee, right? So I think, that's a storyline. And then if you're looking at some of the better teams, Sam, I think Duke being so young is a storyline. John Calipari, storyline. So I look at that teams not getting in. This was probably the first time in years. Don't you think the teams not getting in and who got in became a story? Because to me, it's always, with that many teams getting in, you are not good if you don't get in, right? And I think this is the first year you can look at it and go, all right, North Carolina shouldn't have got in. Indiana should have got in. West Virginia should have got in. And why the hell does ESPN's hand-picked conference, the SEC, get in? 13 teams, Sam. 13 teams.
Well, yeah, I thought they got 14. It was some kind of record, but I guess if you consider Texas got knocked out in that play-in, you're right.
Okay, 14. Yeah, but
so I will say this. So anytime we've seen it in the college football playoff selection, anytime you have a blue blood program matching up against a smaller team that is, maybe it's a big program, but not a blue blood, not really going to move the meter, and you have comparable resumes, or maybe the smaller school or smaller program has a better resume, they're always going to pick the program that's going to get more eyeballs. This is the event that the NCAA makes all of its money on. So as bad optically as it does look, and as probably more deserving West Virginia was to get in over North Carolina, you have to know that the selection committee is always going to pick that bigger program because they're trying to get as many eyeballs as they possibly can. However, it would be, in my opinion, good optically and from a marketing perspective if the North Carolina AD donated that bonus money somewhere, saying, listen, I know this looks bad. I dismissed myself from the conversation, so I'm going to take this money and I'm going to go ahead and bonus it or give it to somebody else, donate it to a charity of somebody else's choosing. Because that looks terrible because to me, it looked like West Virginia's resume was a little bit better than North Carolina's, but North Carolina is going to attract far more eyeballs than West Virginia's program is going to.
But you could have well, Kansas is down, so it's hard to argue that conference, the Big 12, is one of the elite because usually you have Kansas in there and the usual suspects, and usually it's a pretty good basketball conference. Here's the problem I have, and here's why I think it's shady, and I'll compare it to something locally here in Columbus, and we are the OVE podcast. Subscribe, like, follow, share. Appreciate you for doing so. We'll be here for the next 2 days, and I think we'll do Monday as well. And here's what I think is shady. I'll compare it to local. There was the guy who runs the Art Council in Columbus is married to a person on City Hall or City Council. They wanted to implement a 7% sales tax for every ticket that's sold at Nationwide Arena. Every time you buy a ticket, folks, 7% of that ticket, 7% goes to Columbus Arts. Now, here's what I say about art. I'm not dogging it. It's got a place. But you know what? It's not a necessity. And have the people in the arts community who seem to be wealthy donate money and do fundraisers instead of 7% of every ticket. Do you know how many millions of dollars is going to this committee? So the council person recused themselves from the vote, took themselves away from it because their husband was head of the art council. Well, it was a unanimous vote. Do you think anyone on that art council or on that city council, because they work together and they're all in the Democratic Party, are going to vote against this measure because they know if the shoe's on the other foot for something that they can profit on, that you better damn well know that they're on board and they're going to help out their fellow chair people or councilmen in this case. So you can't tell me that with this North Carolina head of the committee chair, when he leaves the room, there's no way in hell. Was it $1.3 million bonus? There's no way. I thought
it was a smaller bonus than that. I saw
maybe
between $30,000 and $50,000 bonus,
okay.
Something like that.
Regardless, I can't read. But there's no way in hell the people that work on him in the committee that spend time with him during the year are going to take that money out of his pocket. It's just not going to happen. That's why it is shady. That's why you should have head of the selection committee, former coaches that are not involved. And if something's tabled and you're married to a city council person, it shouldn't even get brought up at all. It is shady. Columbus City Council shady. Mayor Andy Ginther shady. First Energy Mike DeWine is shady. They're all shady. But the stupid people of Columbus keep voting the same shady-ass people in every year. Do you not think it's shady that a city council person's husband wants millions of dollars and they slap a 7% surcharge on every ticket without a vote? How do you think that came about? So every time you go to a concert, every time you go to a Blue Jacket game, no matter what you do in Nationwide Arena, you are paying 7%. And you know who you're paying it to? The city council person's husband.
So you bring that up.
You are a sap.
I was buying little pre-order concert tickets for a show in late August. 2 tickets, pre-order, $45 a piece. So what is that, $90?
Yep.
One of the fees or surcharges was $25. So what is that? Roughly 25% fee on some concert tickets I'm buying. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I know where that money's going. And you bring this up in the city council. People bitch and moan about the status of downtown Columbus or Columbus proper, Columbus Metro. But they continually vote, and this is not a Democrat-Republican thing. They continually vote for one party on the board of that city. I believe the Columbus City Board has not had a Republican on it for 50 years.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the Republican is going to have all of the solutions to the problems that currently exist in this town. But what I would say is maybe it would behoove you to maybe change how you vote if you really don't like what's happening in your city at this time. Just a thought. Maybe change it up, and guess what? If he sucks or they suck, you can vote him right back out and continue amongst your ways. But it just seems to me like these people just want to beat their head against the wall by continually voting for the same people that caused the issues you're complaining about in Columbus.
I think there's elections rigged all across the country, because look at Chicago. Their mayor has a 6% approval rating and they still elect these bozos. Right. So I think because they're in charge, I think there's something going on where they can rig these elections. Honest to God. Because who would vote? Like, if you're in the city of Chicago, who would continue to vote for that party?
I completely agree.
And I'm not saying vote for the other. I'm just saying they continue to do the same ass thing, and their city is crap. Let's take a quick break. We're back in 60 seconds. Buckeye spring game is going on, and then we'll answer the poll question. What do you enjoy more? March Madness, opening day of baseball, Buckeye spring game, next on the OVE podcast.
We go to war for you.
At Schuerger Shunnarah Trial Attorneys, we don't back down. Accident? Call us today at 877-WAR4U or visit war4u.com for a free consultation. Know your rights because results matter. That's 877-WAR4U. 877-WAR4U or visit war4u.com.
War4U.com.
Denrob Management has over 40 years experience in all aspects of payroll, processing checks, tax filing, W-2 and 1099 preparation. First-time customers get 50% off their first 3 months processing fees. Give them a call now, 614-297-1158 or denrobmanagement.com. OVE podcast, Ohio versus everyone, the Torg. I'm QFM 96's morning guy with Sam Grooms. Subscribe, like, follow, share, hit that little thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Here today, tomorrow, shorter show. Sam, poll question, what do you enjoy more? March Madness, opening day of baseball, Buckeye spring game.
So, again, I don't think the spring game should even be on the list because it's not even, to me, it's not real football. It's basically a glorified practice with
Are they going to have a spring game this year?
I think it's going to be like an event. It won't be a game. And I know people love March Madness. I know the sports ballers around town are going to be full, but to me, there's nothing better than opening day of baseball. And to me, that baseball does not start until the first pitch of the Cincinnati Reds is thrown. So I will be there next week. Me and my pops go down every year. I would imagine in the next year or two, I'll be able to start taking my son down. It's a great event, especially in Cincinnati. It's an event time of year that I'm always looking forward to. So I'm going opening day of baseball by far.
Yeah, I had my opening day baseball for my team, the Cubs. I hate baseball when they start. I don't know why they did start it in Japan.
The Cubs are coming back and still playing spring training games before the actual season starts.
Yeah, I think it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. It is the most ridiculous world. They're calling growing the game. There's more Japanese players in Major League Baseball now than they're playing in the Japanese league. It's ridiculous. But the rumor is they were making $35 million a game with the merch and everything that baseball was selling. So that's why they did it. I think it's ridiculous how you have spring training. Then you have to roll out your top two starters if you're the Cubs and the Dodgers. And then now you rest for a week. And then you have real opening day. I just think it's ridiculous. I've never been a big opening day guy from the standpoint. To me, opening day is Cincinnati. And to me, it should always be Cincinnati. And I know baseball went away with this, 20 years ago where it wasn't Cincinnati 15. Folks, they used to have a big parade. They still have the parade in Cincinnati. But it used to be, and you go every year, correct?
Yep.
It used to be parade, Reds play, then everybody else plays afterwards. And that's the way it should be. But baseball took the easy paycheck with their Thursday night game, Sunday night game, that crap. To me, that ruined opening day of baseball when you take a tradition like that for a few bucks. Because to me, baseball is Cincinnati. And that's the way it should be. I'm going to say March Madness just from the standpoint of there'll be storylines that hook you, especially when you get to the Sweet 16. They'll be in this one 14 seeds, 13 seeds, 12 seeds, 11 seeds that captivate us, right? There's going to be upsets. I'm going to give you a little upset. I'm going to give you a little take it to the bank, gambling advice, first round game. Not straight up. Take the points and take Akron. Take the points. Go with Akron. Arizona always shits down their leg, usually shits down their leg the first round of the NCAA tournament. Akron's a pretty decent team. I'm not saying they win straight up, but take Akron and the 14.5 all day long.
I think my upset, and again, I didn't spend a lot of time on this, but I know how quality Drake basketball is, and I believe they're playing Missouri.
Yes.
Is it a 4-11 maybe matchup, something like that, or 4-13? I want to say Missouri's only favored by 2.5 points. I would take Drake to win the game. But if you're going to get 2.5 points in the process, that would probably be my upset of the first round.
All right, so that's your money line game. I'll give you another money line game. I think Xavier beats Illinois.
Really? Okay.
Yes. That's my money. I would bet them money line. But my big one, take it to the bank. You could thank me to Saturday, because I think they play Friday, is Akron plus 14.5 against Arizona. Something just tells me it will run down Arizona's leg. Spring practice, Sam. 2 practices in. What did you think of, and we're just seeing clips here, Julian Sayin, I thought it looks like he's still undersized from a weight gain, but I think there is definitely a noticeable difference in his weight, unless he's wearing bigger pads. Don't you think he looks a little bigger than he did during the season?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get a guy like that into the program, you start getting him on a nutrition plan. My guess is they're trying to get him to put on a substantial amount of weight. But you start getting Mickey Marotti working on all these guys. I mean, they always do these before and after pictures of position players, linemen, and all that stuff. Apparently, Keenholz has looked like he put on about 20 pounds. So they're obviously trying to beef these guys up a little bit, especially a guy that's undersized like Julian Sayin. But yeah, I think based upon the little snapshots we've seen in some of the video of the 10 minutes of practice that the media is allowed to be there, I mean, he is, I think, what we all thought he was based upon what we're seeing. I mean, we all heard the guy is a great deliverer of the football, has a quick release. I'm not necessarily comparing him to the talent level of Aaron Rodgers, but I do see a little bit of his ability to kind of just flick the wrist and be able to put some juice on the ball, and hopefully a lot of accuracy as well. You know, I see a little bit of that in that style, but it's so hard to take anything from what Ohio State and the football program is wanting you to see to form any kind of opinion on that. You know, I guess what you want to do is you want these guys to come in and get acclimated to the program and hopefully make some strides towards not only being able to fill out the 2 deep and trying to see a guy win a position, but getting these guys acclimated, getting them in the nutrition program, the weight program, and getting them out there hitting again. So, and I think ultimately too, what these guys need to do is realize we're 2 months beyond the national championship. That was a different team. We're beyond that. Now we got our sights set on the next season's goals.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, the storylines, because up front you're going to have 4 new guys. CJ Hicks, I think you can kind of pencil him in at one spot. McDonald, I think, one of the defensive tackle spots. But I think for the most part, you are going to have new guys up and down that defensive line. I think we're going to know who the linebackers are. I think we're going to know who 2/3 or 2/5 of our defensive backfield, and then the offensive line, quarterback, running backs, who's going to be your third receiver, who's going to stand out there. There are going to be a lot more interest in this spring game, in Buckeye practice, in the off season, of people kind of keeping their ear to the wall of who looks good, who, because Julian Sayin, even though he looks like a little filled out, he still kind of needs more. I guarantee you he'll get that more this summer. And the guys that I've talked to, former players, where they say the summer is the hardest part of training with Ohio State, that the summer is really when it's the pain in the ass, because you don't really they expect you to be here. You don't get time to go back home. You don't get time they expect you to be here and to put in the work. And, you know, especially in urban, they kept tabs of that, of who's here, who's working, who's doing what. You don't get vacation time anymore. So it'll be interesting to kind of put your, ear to the door and kind of figure out what you're hearing. And this, there's 2, what is it, CJ Donaldson and James Peoples? I mean, you're going from 2 guys that you can rely on from the running game to 2 guys we don't know much about, even though we know James Peoples. We don't know. It's third string snaps with 8 minutes left to go in a game, how they're going to use that running back rotation. If CJ Donaldson does better than James Peoples, will there be or vice versa, will they be a running back 1? Will they do it like last year? I don't know. There's going to be a lot of, I think, cool things to look at from the fan perspective this year with the team.
Yeah, one of the takeaways, or one of, I guess, the questions going into next season, obviously, Jim Knowles goes to Penn State. You bring in Matt Patricia. Is what style of defense are they going to run? And it sounds to me, based upon what I've heard, they're going to run essentially that same 4-2-5 Jim Knowles' defense. That way they don't really have to change much. They're obviously going to change up some of the verbiage of the play calls, obviously with Jim Knowles going to an in-conference rival. But that was one of the things that I thought was very attractive about Matt Patricia, is the fact that not only does he have the defenses that he likes to run, but he knows enough about all styles of defense that he will garner or shape the defensive scheme around the types of talents and players that he has. So obviously Ohio State was the top defense in college football last year. If it ain't broke, you don't need to fix it. So just keep doing that, make the changes you need to as far as the verbiage, and keep these guys comfortable in the system that after 3 years they seem to have really gravitated towards and excelled at.
Yeah, I don't think that Jim Knowles that week or during the season isn't going to be spilling the tea on this Buckeye defense, right? So I think Matt Patricia is a smart enough guy where there's going to be different looks. It won't look the same. It maybe looks the same for the first couple of weeks, then it'll change during the season. I think you're going to see a difference there. Maybe, yes, they do keep the 4-2-5, but maybe it'll look completely different for the Penn State game. Maybe that's what Matt Patricia, he's talked about having the Bible of defense where he knows the history of every defense, the why it was successful, who was successful in it, how to do it. Maybe he'll pulls that Bible and during the course of the season switches stuff up. Maybe we see some different things before Texas. Final one, Sam, before we go, and we can save a lot of the NFL stuff we have for tomorrow.
Sure.
Blue Jackets could be a team within a month that goes from having a commanding spot in the playoffs to playing in last place. And it really is sad.
So I think there's a few reasons why you're seeing what you're seeing out of the Blue Jackets. One, at the trade deadline, they did nothing. I don't know that I necessarily fault the Blue Jackets for that, kind of with how the trade market worked out. But you really did nothing to go out to make your team better. Whereas all of these other teams that actually have the opportunity to make a pretty deep run in the playoffs really went out and bolstered and improved. I also think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you've got a lot of these young guys that have never really had to step up their style of play. From the regular season to the Stanley Cup playoffs, the NHL ramps up more than any other professional sport. So you're seeing a lot of these teams right now really ramp up their game. And the Blue Jackets players are so young and have never played in this type of environment. They don't know how to. So I think there's a little bit of an issue there. And also, you're playing a lot better teams now over the last 2-3 weeks. You're playing teams that are trying to be competitive to get to the playoffs. And you're playing teams like the Dallas Stars and the Florida Panthers, they're just a bunch of wagons, man. They're just a loaded roster that, again, could go pretty deep in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, yeah, man, you went a few weeks ago from 4 points out behind New Jersey of the third spot in the Metro to now, I believe, you're 7 points out of the first wild card and 4 points out of the second spot, with some other teams now kind of have come up and injected themselves into the race. So, I know we talked about this, and I think now we are in that must-win territory where if you have any hopes and dreams of trying to compete for the Stanley Cup playoffs, you got to start winning some games, because losing 4 in a row right now is a bad, and potentially 5 in a row tonight. Not good timing, as if there is any good timing for that, but it's terrible timing for that type of losing streak right now.
Matthew Tkachuk's still out, correct?
Yeah, he's on long-term IR from that groin injury that he got in the Four Nations.
Gave it all for the Team USA, baby. I agree with you. I don't. What happened is you had guys who haven't played in a while enter this team gelled. Then you had guys, Boone Jenner, Chitakov, come back. Am I missing anyone that came back from injury?
It was primarily those two guys. Fabro was out for like 2 weeks,
but they are top 6 forwards.
Yeah.
And so what's happening to this team right now, Sam? They cannot score goals. They went from being able to score goals in bunches, like 6 a game, to scoring 1 a game, getting shut out. This team can't score right now, and it's because you inserted 2 guys in your top 6, and they're just not meshing. What Chitakov is bad. Your defense has been bad. Severson, I told you when he signed, he has been trash. I told you it was going to be a bad signing. And that contract lingers. He is bad. He is costly. He's a guy if I had Gabranson back, Sam, he's a guy I would insert Gabranson in and I would take him out of the lineup. And you go sit down for a few days and learn how to play defense, dude.
Well, and Chinnikoff just seems to be making a lot of mistakes. What I would say too is you're getting ready. I've seen Monahan's been on the ice and skating with the team, so you're hopefully about to get him back. We'll see how that meshes, because that top line was absolutely buzzing before he went down.
And Brad Tilly hasn't that well, he's not playing they've switched up that top line now.
Yeah.
They should have never touched the damn top line.
And man, you could probably speak to this more, but they were kind of expecting Goodbranson to be ready by the middle of March, and I haven't really heard anything lately. But they were expecting him back. Again, you can speak to that, but
he was especially, and now I think it's going to be more April 1st.
You've got some guys that are ready to come back, but like you said, if you're hanging your hat on how well these guys have gelled, how well some of these young guys are starting to play with other guys, and you start bringing some other guys in to kind of disrupt that continuity, it's almost, is it worth it? And like you said, in combination with players coming back and maybe shaking up the continuity that some of these lines had, versus you're playing against teams now that there's a lot less ice to space on the ice. The defense is laying out or selling out maybe a little bit more to block some of these shots. You've got some run into some absolute heaters when it comes to goaltending, opposition goaltending. You got to find a way to get it done. It doesn't matter if you're winning 7-2 or 2-1. You have to get the wins. And part of the reason why I think that the Blue Jackets organization may not be quite ready to take this step to be competitive in this regard is all I heard is how proud they were of the effort that they gave in a 2-1 loss in the third period against New Jersey. Cut that bullshit out of your mind. This is you lost 6 of 7 at the time, and you're patting yourself on the frickin' back because you got 24 shots off and lost the game. I don't give a flying about 24 shots in the third period. You lost the damn game. You've lost 4 straight. You lost 6 of 7. I don't get it done. We're not giving participation trophies for this organization in my mind anymore. Your effort should be expected and demanded. It's not optional at this point. So yeah, kudos to them for coming out and maybe putting forth a pretty decent effort against Jersey, but you still lost the damn game, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's at the trade after the trade deadline, it ramps up. You're right, and then it ramps up more in the playoffs. This is good for those young guys to know, like, holy crap, it really does. There's a different level because you haven't been in a situation like this before. So this is good. Failure's good. Then next year you will realize, and it's not like Boone Jenner's playing bad. Chinnikov's playing bad, but Boone Jenner's not playing bad. It's just they're trying to gel with each other. He's, ideally you didn't want him at center, but he's playing center. Ideally, you didn't want that. Guys are you're fitting them into spots, and it's just not, Chinnikov is not gelling, and he's a top 6 forward, and you don't put him down. He's just one of those things where he's a veteran, even though he's young, and you just got to play through that. Some guys got to just play through it.
And I guess that's a silver lining in all of this, and you almost have to kind of take a step back as a fan sometimes. At the beginning of the season, if you'd have told me this is where this team would be at, I'd be stoked. I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah.
But it also sucks as a fan that you're here now and it's right there, that you could reach out and grab it, but they're not taking that. They're not ramping up enough. They're not taking that next step. So I guess, again, the silver lining and the way to kind of view this and to, put a bow on a turd is to say, hey, at least they're here. At least they're getting the experience, which is ultimately, at the end of the day, at the beginning of the season, what we wanted these young guys and this roster to get, right?
Yeah, you just hate to see choking on the chicken bone at the end.
No, absolutely.
It's just sad. It's a sad way to go at the end of the season when you've accomplished so much, because people are not going to remember what you did to this point. They are going to remember, hey, remember the collapse of 2024, 2025? That's what people are going to remember. They don't remember. You can't go back and go, oh, they played great through 55 games or 60 games. No. You look at it and go, hey, when it mattered, they folded like a chair. And that's
no one's going to remember. No one's going to remember they were the 3rd highest scoring offense in the league, and I think scored most goals in home games. They're going to remember the fact that they went essentially 2.5 games without scoring a goal and still lost 2-1 in that game they scored. So, yeah, it's tough, man. Like I said, it's a bummer as a fan because you're there and you can see these guys starting to gel. It's just they haven't been able to ramp it up enough to put it together enough to take the next step, which, I hate saying it. Maybe that's what next year, maybe there's next year, you know?
Well, I think you got to
There's
get
always
some, unfortunately, and I like the youth, and I think they have a skillful youth, but might be one of those things, Sam, where you take two of those young, skillful guys and get a superstar with them. Of you look at it and go, all right, we have too many young guys, and maybe that destroyed us last year, where we get some big bull. Because look what the Rangers are doing. The Rangers retooled that team in a way, you know, and it looks like they're kind of going to take that last shot. And for them, see, the Rangers just making the playoffs not good enough. But what they did is they retooled that team. And maybe you look at it and go, we are too young. And when you look at our prospects, The Athletic has them ranked 6th in the NHL for prospects. And it's like, all right, we're way under the cap. We have way too many prospects. Maybe we take two of these guys that are prospects, and we need to get to the salary floor, and we're going to need to do it somehow, right?
Mhm.
Maybe we do, like, we don't want to do it, but to get that superstar player, maybe we do try to get another superstar on board and make a big trade. Especially when you could do 2 prospects, first-round draft pick for a big play. That's a big trade. When you take 2 big-time top 6 forwards with the first-round pick, you're going to get a top-line player in return. And that's what I think this team really needs to look at, a winner, a guy maybe 28, 29 years old, maybe even a better attitude Seth Jones type player, right? A guy that hasn't folded and quit on I say one team, something like that, right? A situation like that, maybe where you go, all right, we don't necessarily want to take a huge deal. Maybe he's got 4 years left on his deal, and we as a franchise, we want to go younger. I think that's something they really have to look at next year, because I really do think this team is really too young. They need some men in that locker room.
Yeah, you always have to have that balance, especially when it's Stanley Cup playoff time. Is you have the veterans that have been there and can show the young guys, but you also like having the young guys with some promise and some of the ability too. So I think you're right. You know, I don't really know what the free agent market looks like or what the trade market's going to look like coming up this offseason. Maybe I'll do a little homework, but I think you're right. They've got plenty of money. They've got plenty of cap. They've got the opportunity to go out there. They've got plenty of assets. You know, if that means you part ways with one of the guys that you have, obviously not a guy like Adam Fantilli or, you know, like even Kent Johnson, like I think he could be on the table for the right trade.
Well, when you look at it, though, how many good teams, all right, how many like elite playoff teams have young studs? So let's say the Jackets, we're using their fictional roster as a playoff team, right? They would have Marchenko and Fantilli as their young stars, and the rest would probably be established veterans, guys who have played 7-8 years in the league. When you look at these playoff teams, these cup teams, it's veterans in the league, maybe 1 or 2 rookies. It's you said it best. Marchenko, Kent Johnson, Fantilli, Voronkov, Sillinger, and then I'll go down. And I think that's the contributors, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Matejchuk, all right? Those are the regulars who are young. I just named off like 7 dudes there who are regulars in the lineup, who are like within 3 years, who other teams don't have. What I'm saying is, if you're serious about winning a Stanley Cup, you don't have any of that young guys. And if your philosophy is, oh, but wait 5 or 6 years with these guys, I don't know. I mean, I don't think you lose anything if you trade like Chinnikov and Kent Johnson, right, Sam, and a first-round pick to get something really, really good, like a top winger who could give you 80 points a year, right? Already established, 26 years old, 27 years old. I don't think there's any negative. Now, I think there's negative if they go out and get a 32-year-old guy with 4 years on his deal. Then that's a problem. But if you get an established 27, 28-year-old guy where it's not working and we're like, he's got 6 more years, we got to give to get. Every team's got to do it. We don't want to give this guy, but look what we're getting. Kent Johnson was phenomenal. Chinnikov, we feel now that he's healthy and we get a first-round pick. Yeah, we'll give that guy up. I could see the Blue Jackets making a move like that. And I don't think they get weaker if they get rid of those 2 guys and add a 80-point scorer a year. I think
they've got some depth right now, but I think you're right where if you can go out and get a guy that is it doesn't have too many more years left on his term, is established, but is also not, you know, walking to the arena with a walker, I'm fine with that. And again, I think their money is positioned in a point that they can go out and do it. It's just, is that guy available? And if it is, what are you going to have to part with? What are you going to have to get up to get him? That's what the NHL is all about. And, you know, you always have to factor this in as well. Does that player want to come to Columbus? That's got to be it. That's got to be a big part of it as well.
Boy, I'd want to with this team.
Do you see the Montreal Canadiens are thinking about writing off Laine?
Are they?
Yeah.
Again?
They're talking about cutting him and paying him off.
Wow. Well, it's kind of where, you know, someone will take another chance at him.
Yeah,
he's ouchy again, right?
I
think isn't he ouchy again? Or he was ouchy?
I
think he was ouchy. He was ouchy for that big chunk of the season. After they played the Blue Jackets, wasn't he ouchy for like 20 games?
He had some kind of undisclosed illness, but
yeah, it's called walking vagina.
Vaginitis. I don't know. It sounds like some of the cryptic stuff you're seeing coming out of Montreal. They're just tired of his shit.
All right. Tomorrow we're back with a lot of football, some March Madness stuff. No one gives a shit about your bracket. No one does. Okay. I'm just letting you know. And by the way, I have a TV recommendation tomorrow, Sam. I think we're going to throw out there a TV recommendation. I hung in there on this show and it paid off. And usually you quit shows after a few episodes. I did not quit this show and it paid off. Hey, appreciate you. Remember, subscribe, like, follow, share, hit that little thumb button. We're back tomorrow, OVE Podcast. See you, Sam.
See you guys.
Hey, it's Torg for Custom Air. You know, when it comes to my HVAC system, I don't trust just anyone. I trust Custom Air. These guys are fast, reliable, and they know their stuff. Fall's just around the corner, and now's the perfect time to make sure your HVAC equipment is running at its best. Don't wait until it's too late. Get ahead of the game. I wouldn't trust anyone else with my home, and neither should you. Visit them on the web at customairco.com and keep your home comfortable all season long. Custom solutions, custom comfort, Custom Air. Thinking of buying or selling a home? Give Lauren Torgerson a call with NextHome Experience. Lauren has been servicing the Columbus metropolitan area for 10 years. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, considering building, want to upsize or downsize, Lauren can help you with all your real estate needs. Get a free market analysis for your area and get started working on making tomorrow's dreams happen today. Call or text Lauren at 614-296-3952, 614-296-3952, or email at togersonlauren